Good day, it's December 10th, 2022, just 14 days before Christmas. I'm Esmeralda Padilla-Gould and welcome to the Pulse.
And I'm Sam Buban.
We begin with this week's news that dominated the headlines. The three-judge panel of the 11th Circuit Court of Appeals has effectively ended Donald Trump's attempt to delay the FBI investigation of the Mar-a-Lago documents case. The panel rendered a decision ordering Judge Eileen Cannon to dismiss the petition of Donald Trump to retain possession of those top-secret U.S. government documents and 11,000 other documents he took to Mar-a-Lago in Florida. The 11th Circuit panel sided with the Department of Justice in their expedited appeal that Judge Cannon improperly claimed equitable jurisdiction on the case. Judge Cannon, who was appointed by the former president, also ordered that a special master to these documents be appointed, and Judge Deary of New York accepted the appointment. But both Judge Deary and Judge Eileen Cannon is now off the case.
The Board of Supervisors in Cochise County, Arizona, who were refusing to certify the election results in that county, has now certified the results of that county after a Superior Court judge in Pima County, Arizona, ordered them to do their duty and certify the election results. Judge Casey McGinley gave the order after he decided in favor of the plaintiff in a civil lawsuit filed by Arizona Secretary of State and Arizona Alliance of Retired Americans. The judge said the board had no basis to delay or refuse the certification.
Will Ukraine retake province of Crimea from the Russians? Crimea, a big piece of Ukrainian territory that Russia illegally annexed to Russia after a short invasion in 2014. This could be the next decisive battle in the Ukraine war started by Russia. Just to give you a background, this province of Crimea has been historically famous. The famous English poet Alfred Lord Tennyson described a battle in the 1854 Crimean War in his poem Charge of the Light Brigade, describing the tragic slaughter of a British light cavalry brigade in the Battle of Balaclava in Crimea. The Crimean Peninsula is in the Black Sea and the Sea of Azov, which is extremely important to Ukraine because of the port of Sevastopol, which used to be their second main commercial maritime port that was essential to Ukraine's commerce. Next only to the port of Odessa, which were almost taken by the Russians this year, but were defended at all costs by the Ukrainians. According to the now not-so-secret plan to retake Crimea, the online magazine Politico published a story from three national security reporters, Alex Ward, Matt Burge, and Lawrence Ukenia, that there is a plan by Ukraine to take back the Crimean Peninsula, which belongs to Ukraine. According to the report on November 28th, just last month, quoted Ukraine's Defense Minister Volodymyr Havrilov when asked by the Sky News that it is possible that Ukrainian troops would move in the annexed peninsula by the end of December. During the Halifax International Security Forum, a high-ranking Ukrainian official, Andrei Yermak, softly chuckled, saying, "This war continues," and said, "I'm sure," referring to the military campaign to retake Crimea. This is just my commentary, as we have seen how the Ukrainians endured and prevailed in repelling the Russian invaders from their land, and were united behind President Zelensky. I have no doubt that these people have the resolve to take back their province of Crimea that was invaded and annexed in 2014.
In the state of Georgia, this week was the second time Reverend Raphael Warnock went through a runoff election for the U.S. Senate seat in Georgia. And once again, the now incumbent Raphael Warnock won. Senator Raphael Warnock will serve for another 6 years as Georgia's senior senator, while fellow Democrat Senator John Ossoff will be due for re-election in 2024. This is becoming even more interesting. This is the third runoff election in a row for Georgia before they could send a U.S. Senator to Washington. The Senate race in Georgia is equally important as the 2020 elections of John Ossoff and Raphael Warnock, which allowed Democrats to retake the majority in the Senate, 50-50 plus one with the Vice President. But this time, it will be 51-49 Democratic majority. Early voter turnout had smashed previous historical records. This runoff election that took place this week had more than 50% of the registered voters in Georgia actually voted. Georgia's lieutenant governor, a Republican, was quoted last week on CBS television as saying, "Herschel Walker will probably go down in history as the worst candidate in the Republican Party's history." We're going to take a commercial break. We have more for you. Please stick around.
Pure Medical Equipment provides top-notch quality medical supply equipment. Whether to rent or buy, Pure Medical Equipment and Supplies has it all.
Pure Medical Equipment is committed to serve and give back to Southern Nevada.
We deliver medical supplies and rentals to your door.
Welcome back to the Pulse.
In the criminal tax fraud case of the Trump Organization filed against the organization by Manhattan District Attorney Alvin Bragg, a Supreme Court jury returned a verdict of guilty as charged in all counts. It took the jury only 10 hours of deliberation to find Donald Trump's company guilty of 17 counts. Two defendants who are officers of the corporation, Chief Financial Officer Alan Weisselberg and Comptroller Jeffrey McConney, were found criminally guilty, along with the Trump Organization, in this criminal tax fraud case. Both Weisselberg and McConney will be going to prison, and the Trump Organization will likely be fined about $1.6 million. The prosecution, led by Assistant District Attorney Josh Steinglass, presented evidence of 13 years of systemically defrauding the government of taxes in payroll taxes and in personal income taxes of its executives, as well as defrauding the state. Sentencing for the defendants is scheduled on January 13, 2023. While the Manhattan criminal tax fraud case was coming to an end, and with the closing arguments from prosecution and the defense, former President Donald Trump created another firestorm of controversy by posting in his social media platform Truth Social that the United States Constitution should be terminated. Retiring senators who are Republicans made comments criticizing Trump, but the Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell and House leaders in the Republican Party were silent about it. Some legal analysts who are following his cases, according to different media sites and podcasts, says that this is another evidence for the prosecution by Special Counsel Jack Smith. This shows a likely Trump's disregard and disdain for the U.S. Constitution and his state of mind when he encouraged the mob of MAGA followers and sympathizers to attack the U.S. Capitol on January 6 last year. We are going to take a commercial break, so please stay with us.
Pure Medical Equipment provides top-notch quality medical supply equipment. Whether to rent or buy, Pure Medical Equipment and Supplies has it all.
Pure Medical Equipment is committed to serve and give back to Southern Nevada.
We deliver medical supplies and rentals to your door.
With the many recent changes and focus on immigration law, now more than ever is the time to seek the help you need from an attorney you can trust. As an immigrant myself, I know the many difficulties and hardships involved in immigrating to this great country. With more than 10 years of experience in handling immigration cases, our firm can provide the necessary answers and solutions to your needs. Call Calderon Law today so we can work together to help you get the peace of mind you and your loved ones deserve.
Pure Medical Equipment provides top-notch quality medical supply equipment. Whether to rent or buy, Pure Medical Equipment and Supplies has it all.
Pure Medical Equipment is committed to serve and give back to Southern Nevada.
We deliver medical supplies and rentals to your door.
Welcome back to The Pulse. Joining us today at The Pulse is School Board of Trustee for District G, Ms. Linda CAVAZOS.
Linda, welcome to the Pulse. Thank you for agreeing to talk to us today. First, can you tell us, our viewers, a little bit about yourself?
Of course, Sam, and thank you, Sam and Esmeralda, for having me here today. I have been a trustee for 5 years. I was appointed originally in 2017, then I ran in 2018 and won, and happy to say that I've just been re-elected to my board position. I'm a former teacher in Clark County. I was a teacher for 15 years at basic high school and also taught at UNLV for 9 years. And I've now been a mental health professional working with children, adolescents, adults for the last almost 20 years.
That's, you know, quite a career, and it's almost like everything you're doing is public service. And where exactly is District G in Clark County, the school District G in Clark County? Give us some example of schools that are in it.
Sure, Sam. Right now, I have 48 schools in District G. It's about the third largest of the 7 school districts. We have 7 trustees and 7 districts within the Clark County School District. Mine starts on the southern edge, right by Warm Springs Road, Green Valley High School, and then it winds around to a little bit more north, Del Sol High School, Thorpe Elementary School, Treem Elementary School, Cannon Middle School, and then goes all the way down northeast to Sunrise Mountain. And I have East Career Technical Academy. I have Southeast Career Technical Academy. And then it winds all the way around to about where we are sitting right now. So it's a very diverse district. I have a lot of different unique neighborhoods within District G.
All right. You ran for re-election, and I know you had been in the school board for 5 years, okay? And even at that length of time, you were in the service to our community and your constituents. What are still the biggest concern you have in as far as the school district is, you know?
Okay. Thank you, Sam, for that question. One of the things that is really paramount right now in people's minds, parents, community leaders, business leaders, and of course, you know, the students themselves. I get a lot of communications from students as young as the 2nd or 3rd grade, going all the way up to senior high school. And one of the challenges is school safety right now. And I can kind of wind that in through kind of almost all of our discussion. Teacher shortages, supply professionals, like just support professionals for bus drivers, food service workers, substitute teachers. We have shortages in all of those areas that the district is working very hard on. The other thing that is really has been a challenge was, of course, in 2020, 2021, COVID, and a lot of the controversy that went along with that. There were a lot of different perspectives, and we were very happy to get kids back into school, but we're also now dealing with a lot of the learning loss that the kids experienced during that time, and trying to identify that.
Let's talk about school security. What are the things the school district can still do to protect our children from gun violence and violence against fellow students as well?
Thank you for that question. It's a really, really complex issue. And so the school district has been very proactive, and I'm sure that you have read about some of the incidents that have happened in our school district. Some of them have been very, very violent. And then we have things that have been going on for years, like bullying, some of the anti-racist things that happen in our schools. What we are doing right now is the district has installed security systems that I'm sure that some of the details have been put out there. We don't reveal the specific details because we, of course, want to keep that confidential. Right. But some of the main things that we have instituted are single entrances to the schools to protect against intruders, fencing, and also we have something that is called it is a lanyard, it's a sentinel, and what it is a lanyard that the teachers and the staff can wear around their necks. They have a panic button on that, and they are able to summon help almost immediately if there is a situation. The other thing also is that we are being extremely, extremely careful about background checks for anybody who comes on campus.
All right, that's more like you're putting it to the next level, What about the school health, Ms. CAVAZOS? Is this program getting a lot of attention for the school budget? Are we going to ask, is the school board going to ask more funding from our legislatures about school health?
Yes, we are definitely going to be doing that. And that is not only for physical health, but for mental health resources. I'm going to go back to something that Emmy had just touched on briefly. And as far as gun violence, we were able in 2021 to pass a resolution for safe storage of guns that actually goes out now in the registration packet that parents see when they register their kids. So now what we're looking at as schools came back into session full-time in person, we are looking at kids having to readjust, to the social demands of being back in school. There's been a lot of publicity about the violent incidents. So as a mental health professional myself who sees a lot of children and adolescents, I am a proponent of looking at the whole child. I don't want the child or the family to be just looked at as a data point. But we have to look at some of these kids and what they experienced. Some of them experienced the death of a grandparent, an uncle or aunt. Some kids in my district, especially in the higher need communities, experienced the loss of several family members. Their parents lost their jobs, and they were the sole support. The high school kids were the ones that were supporting their families. So when they come back to school, we have to look at the whole picture. We can't just say, okay, this child fits into this box, and that's how we're going to handle it.
I remember we were transplanted from Los Angeles when we came in 2007. But my son, Joe, he was already in school by 2008. He was a middle schooler. I remember there was a time when the school or the school district has a zero tolerance policy on bullying. Okay? And is that policy still in place? Disciplining students who are bullying?
Yes, Sam, it is. And we have a very specific district-wide protocol that, the principals all follow. And we have a specific process that is followed when a student reports the bullying, and we always ask them go to any trusted adult. Doesn't have to be a teacher. It can be a support professional. It can be the bus driver. It can can be the food service worker. But we do have a specific protocol that we follow for identifying what has happened and how we can best, find a solution to the issue. And sometimes that has to be, like 2 or 3 steps that happens. If it's maybe in elementary school, if it's something that's more complex in the middle school or high school, it sometimes can take a little bit longer to resolve. And we do have that policy still in place.
I'm so glad to hear that, because that's a policy that it may actually exist in the school districts in California, but it's barely or rarely getting implemented. But here I knew for a fact because Joe had to be sent home one time because he was teasing a student, and I had to pick him up. I said, "Okay, Joe, your day off."
He was reprimanded.
He was reprimanded. Like, we have to send him home for the day because he was, teasing, a girl, and making
Maybe he
the
had a
others
crush
were
on her.
laughing.
That
So,
Possibly, maybe that could have been
I'm
it.
so glad it's still, but that I call it like it's an early deterrent, for
Yes.
continuing bad behavior. So.
To nip it in the bud.
Yes,
Right.
and I agree with you, Joe. And, we have to always be very cognizant and see, what's going on with the child. Is this something, like Esmeralda mentioned, maybe he had a crush, or maybe it's just something where they're trying to be the class clown. And we try to kind of nip it in the bud. So our school principals and assistant principals, and we have behavior specialists, learning strategists, that they all basically work as a team to do what is best to make it a better situation, because we don't want it to escalate. We don't want it to go into a place where it turns into, a bad situation.
Right. Are the Clark County schools statewide still having a difficulty attracting teachers from all over the place?
Well, we are working hard on that just recently, and I don't know if you saw this in any of the news, but we just recently raised the starting pay for beginning teachers. We are also trying to do something as much as possible for the veteran teachers. The veteran teachers are the ones that, they were there for us during the pandemic. They are the ones that taught and trained a lot of the other teachers. I had teachers in my district that were putting in 12, 14 hours a day during the pandemic, where they were trying to train some of the other teachers on distance learning. I have a school that is called Nevada Learning Academy, where just about everything is online. So those teachers already, they had all the tricks of the trade already, because they were already used to teaching online. But a lot of our other teachers, we had teachers teaching from their living rooms, from their bedrooms. It was something that was a whole new experience. So this is something that, it was a big learning experience, but we're now carrying it over into the future. And we had kids that now are absolute experts, like they weren't already, but they're absolute experts. And we had some of the kids that I think were training us. I know I had some 9-year-olds that were cluing me in on how to do things.
All right, yeah. Are there in your district teachers that are like Filipino teachers that are picking up the slack? They're like cultural exchange teachers that are in District G?
Yes, I do have and actually, I was hoping that you would ask me that when we were talking about retaining teachers, because I have to say that there has to be 3 R's to this. Not only recruiting the new teachers with a higher pay, retaining the teachers who have been there for us all along, and then respect for the teachers that are coming to us from other countries like the Philippines. So I know that we have had issues going way back before I was even on the school board, but I was attending school board meetings, and that we had teachers with the J1 visas that they were only here for a certain amount of time, and a lot that were teaching our special needs children, filling some of the highest need positions in our district. And then it was difficult because then when their visa expired, they would then have to leave.
You're right,
And very traumatic for the children because they form a special bond with these teachers.
Right, 'cause there's no continuity.
And I think we do have a couple of groups that are working on that to try to make the situation better. And I know they've been having meetings over, with the superintendent and his team because these teachers are very valuable to us. And, they come over and, they form a bond. They go through a lot of different cultural acclimation to help our students. And we're very appreciative of that.
I'm so glad to hear that. We're now going through the end of our show. And Linda, we want to really thank you for, we appreciate you coming over and, all the information you provided to us. I hope the parents will have a better idea about what's going on at our schools and how much work and hard work our administrators like you are doing to make things happen.
I appreciate that from both of you, from your show. I know that you have been very active in trying to get as many candidates and electeds out here. And something that really helps with people like you having these shows is that people understand that the local races are very important too. So I happened on this last ballot to be on the very last page of the ballot. So, part of my literature as I was knocking on doors was finish your ballot, go to the very last page. So this has been a great opportunity to come on, and I thank you both for having me. It was a real pleasure.
You're most welcome, Linda. That was Linda CAVAZOS, School Board Trustee on District G of Clark County Schools. Well, thank you again for watching us today here at the Pulse. I'm Sam Buban.
And I'm Esmeralda Padilla-Gould.
Until next time,
Mabuhay.
God bless your week. And mabuhay.